Thinker salute. Welcome to another episode of Axiom TV. I'm your host, Jason B. Sareve, aka Brave Mind, the King of the North, and also known as the Antichrist. This video is dealing with is to review my recent debate with Uncle Hotep, the Uncle Hotep versus Axiom TV debate. I read the immediate comments on the video on his page from him, and I want to thank all his followers, all his subscribers who left comments, even the derogatory ones. I found them educational, some so revealing it may be possible to build a psychological profile from them. And I'll now address those that I found worth reacting to. Now, many of Mr. Hotep's, Mr. Handy Mayhem's followers, that's his other name, stated that Mr. Mayhem won that debate. Not surprising, being that they are acquired to his brand of gospel. What I found interesting about that perspective is that essentially many of you are saying that adults should be free to mischaracterize and slander each other, knowing full well that none of us accepts others calling us out of our names. Those of you who do allow for that are most likely people with a low sense of self and have envy or are envious of people who hold themselves in high regard, which I hope most of us in the world do. One complaint was that this was a live debate, a live stream debate, not staged. As of this review, that comment was liked by two individuals, I believe, and one of them was Mr. Mayhem, who gave that remark a heart emoticon. In my view, that complaint is nonsensical. Mr. Mayhem delayed this debate for at least 2 weeks. His video accepting my challenge was issued on November 25th of this year, which would be 2017. He settled on two top debate topics, and his use of derogatory terms against black people was one of those topics. What debate, especially one announced over 2 weeks prior, do the participants not prepare for? This wasn't a freestyle rap battle or an argument on the street or in the barbershop. This was a planned discussion that he was well aware of, and he set the terms and the schedule for, as well as the format. As for the live aspect, even staged debates are conducted live when they happen. So I don't understand that comment at all, that criticism at all. The fact that Mr. Mayhem hearted this particular comment tells me that he entered the debate unprepared, which explains all his histrionics and antics during the debate. This leads me to wonder, why even delay the dialogue for 2 weeks then, if all he had planned on doing was saying anything that came to his mind? Another complaint I hear is the subject, or I read about, was the subject matter. Many of you felt that we expended too much time on the topic of words, some of you dismissing the issue raised as a trivial one. The problem with this criticism is that communication is a foundational subject. Words are what has advanced human society as far along as it is, not unflattering remarks. Knowledge and ideas are exchanged via words. Language/words are tools And like any other tool, they can be used to fix a problem, or they can be utilized as weapons to continue or exacerbate a problem, which it seems is what Mr. Mayhem chooses to do when he uses those terms of abuse that he does. Quality of communication matters, or history's geniuses, philosophers, and even preachers would never have had an audience. This results in improving quality of communication as a key matter to be discussed. You can reference Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, Ludwig Wittgenstein, or William Lutz if the goal is to adjust human behavior for the better. Some of you excuse Mr. Mayhem's use of abusive terms, parroting his stance that he is displaying a form of tough love when he uses those terms. What's strange about this claim is that each person is their own worst critic. No one needs another person over them, disparaging them in order to make them feel worse than they already are than they already do when they are self-critical. And second, if any of you saw a stranger using those words, those type of words, derogatory language towards a child or a significant other, you would regard that person as being abusive. Those who honestly don't find it abusive are individuals who grew up in abusive homes or in an abusive culture, or live a completely self-deprecating lifestyle or life and are mentally broken. You merely want others to suffer the same fate in order for you to feel a sense of normalcy. These types live to find fault with confident people. Does this sound like a worthy endeavor for a so-called intelligent species? Let's not forget what qualifies human beings as human beings. What differentiates us from the other species of the earth is our intellect. So to say that defaming someone or defaming a group, that there's nothing wrong with that to me is subhuman, if you will. Now let's address the newly introduced term that I brought up yesterday that I brought up during the debate of earth tone people. Unlike Mr. Mayhem, who wishes to interchange different defamatory terms to address those who look like him, I seek to encourage and empower people. Earth-toned is to counter and settle the confusion and references to darker pigmented people that we've had issues with, that I've taken notice of. I find no affinity for the term colored. I've never thought my skin was black as the color black. Do you see the difference? Though I do admit there is a variety in darker pigmented people. Any variation, I also take issue with any variation of the word Negro, which carries a racial undertones at this point in history. And the term melanated has already lost its fancy to me due to being overly used. My use of the term earth-toned is to reflect the importance of the earth to human society overall, which we seem to forget with all our aspirations to travel to Mars or to outer space, as well as our current economic system that destroys the planet with all the waste that it outputs. The reference earth tone is also to highlight the fact that earth is the foundation, akin to darker people being the foundation of Western society, whether whites want to admit this fact or not. This is why we have yet to suffer the annihilation imposed upon Native Americans. There would have never been slavery, and Western society would have never advanced this far along without the forced assistance of Earth Tone people. If this wasn't true, such actions wouldn't have been effectuated. So apparently the whites who did this felt the same way as well. Who did the oppressing or the enslaving, they felt the same way as well. Finally, in regards to the criticism, I did notice that most of the time I spoke, Mr. Mayhem would giggle or loudly fiddle around, and that would cut up what I was saying, resulting in my audio sounding choppy. Notice in this particular video, my voice doesn't sound distorted, even though I'm using the same mic. And if you'll also notice that Mr. Mayhem's audio during the debate, his didn't sound choppy due to me allowing him to speak without interruption. And anytime I realized that I was about to interrupt him, or when I was speaking, when I went to speak, that it was about to interrupt what he was saying, I quickly relented. To me, this is the microcosm of the subject matter overall. There's an immaturity and disrespect and ridicule. One of us is indifferent and the other is empathetic. One of us is, for lack of a better term, childish, and the other one is taking things seriously. This, to me, the abuse that human beings overall suffer at the hands of the super rich to allow for a few people to be privileged is no laughing matter to me. It is something that needs to be resolved for human beings to actually reach our full potential. If Mr. Mayhem felt the need to laugh at what I was saying, he could have turned away from his mic. But someone paying attention would realize that what he was doing was deliberate, dubious at the very least. This is why he cackled like a hyena in Lion King through most of the debate. He claims it's because he didn't take what I said seriously. But if you notice in his review of the debate, in his video in which he reviews the debate, he uses the same terms that his subscribers used in the comment section. He claimed that he was laughing due to him saying his opinion being that I was saying things that were outlandish, particularly my using the term earth tone. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayhem. Not everyone goes around trying to demean and degrade people and debase and devalue them. Some people are actually trying to uplift their community. Pardon me, I know you're not used to that. This is why he cackled. This is why he's a laugher. This is why he's a sophist. He's a propagandist at best. I gave him the credit and called it for what it was, a diversion tactic, a defense mechanism. But on further review, what I realized is that he never planned on me being fully heard, which is another propagandist technique. What I did find peculiar is if I had employed his tactics and he utilized my demeanor during the debate, those who were critical of me for thinking I'm intellectual would be even worse towards me for behaving as the stereotype. Pardon me. There were also some missteps. I must admittedly admit there were some missteps on my part. I used the word derogatory too much. And when I referenced soldiers as sheep, that was I misspoke. I was wrong in that. What I was trying to do there was point to the fact that soldiers are trained to follow orders and relinquish their natural right to think for themselves. I should have used the term automated because that would have illustrated that point better than the term sheep. Also, admittedly, I felt rushed and was a bit taken aback by Mr. Mayhem's constant chuckling, which led to some of my responses being out of order as well as unpolished. I'm not a scam artist, as some people seem to have the traits of. Neither do I play to others' emotions, uh, even my own subscribers' emotions, in the positions that I take. I am in pursuit of the objective truth. It is my belief that life, that within life, every aspect of life, there is an objective truth. 2 and 2 equals 4, regardless of anyone's emotions towards it. And that is the same type of truths, objective truths, that I believe exist throughout all aspects of life. So you will see that there is a clear distinction, pardon me, between us two. And it's up to you, the general public, to be able to discern and make and evaluate the difference for yourselves. A neutrally relative thinker is my ambition. I am seeking to improve, so if you can direct me to any other legitimate gaffes on my part, I'd be most appreciative and welcoming of it. Thank you. But I also want to add, before I end this video, despite the negatives, me and Mr. Mayhem are scheduled to debate another topic of seriousness, the other being systemic racism and whether or not it exists. I am still open to that discussion because it is a dialogue worth having. The difference from this discourse and our next one will be, now that I am aware of his sophist tactics, I will take care and wait till he's finished with his theatrics before I begin speaking, so that I can so that my words and what I'm saying is more clear and more cogent. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Subscribe to Axiom TV if your pursuit is to be an objective thinker and pursue objective truth, pardon me, of life. Also, like and share if you find intellectual value or value in these videos, as well as hit the bell icon so that you can receive notifications of future postings. Thank you. Namaste. Привет.